And today, I have to give you a cup of the day. It says, enjoy your life every day. And it's by Joyce Meyer, Enjoying Every Day, which is the name of her website.
And that's what we're going to be talking about, enjoying life.
Every day.
Every day. Every minute, having fun, doing the best you can to
Absolutely
be who you want to be.
Be who you are.
And last night we were talking about, we continue talking on the series of abandonment. And because it's a serious topic and because we are all struggling with this, we are all getting tested.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yes. We've been having tons of drama, but it's being a productive drama in which we are getting to learn from one another, and we are getting to learn from each other. I mean, from myself and from you and from everybody, because it's just stirring up the water.
It is, exactly. And I just love, aside from the lessons that are being taught, I love that these women are making connections, that they're, becoming more vulnerable, more intimate, connecting with people that they didn't know 6 weeks ago. And that, to me, is what community is all about.
Right.
That's why what we're there, to support one another, glean from one another's experiences and thoughts, and, because everybody's is valuable.
Right.
And it doesn't all have to sound the same. But that's the whole point. It's like we have different experiences, different life lessons, and we can learn from everybody. So
perspective.
I love that part.
Yes.
That's my favorite part.
That's why we need to stay in community so we can learn from each other. Your experiences. So what I experience is my perspective, what my learning lessons, but that's not it. That's not all of it. There's so much more. We're 8 billion people in the world, so everybody has a different experience, right? So, but when we stop and listen to what you have to say, then it expands my world possibilities, my perspective, and then now I can have an empathy for you, because now I can relate in some way with what you're going through, and that opens my heart to say, wow, I did struggle, but that person struggled too in a different way, or in similar way, and I can relate. Oh, so you're telling me that you deal with this that way? Oh, I deal with that too. Or I deal with it different. Oh, that's what community is all about. Just being able to open up your heart and your mind to see what's out there.
And I think the interesting thing too is it doesn't matter how big or how small the group is, everybody's input is valuable, and someone in the group can relate to something that's being said.
So community.
Yes,
community, right? So we're talking, we need to stay in community, and it doesn't matter what, piggybacking what you were saying, it doesn't matter it's 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, 25 people. The key is to be open, be vulnerable, and open to say your experiences, to share with people your experiences, because there's always someone looking to hear what you have to say.
Exactly.
We never know. I always say, when you go to a meeting, just you make sure that you get one thing, one thing that will get you. And because it's always about opening up and being able to allow other people to get one single thing from you too.
Correct.
So it's like a give and take.
It is a give and take. And so, so don't come and just sit in silence, because you might learn something, but you're not going to grow as much.
Yes. So sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. I love that.
So we talked last night. We talked about healing.
Yes.
We are in the series of abandonment issues, and then that we talk about it. It starts with the childhood, and childhood is now we're trying to. Last session we discover our inner child. Now we are healing our inner child, and healing our inner child is just it's basically understanding the things that they used to be before and how they continue being that way, because we are in a constant battle with ourselves. We feel in some way, but we don't allow ourselves to feel. Basically, the way we were raised by our parents and or parent, and most of them they do the best they can. We don't know what we don't know, so they do the best they can based on the things that they were taught by their parents as well. See, it's a chain of events. So they teach us, and the lesson most of the time is, you're a kid, you don't have a voice, you stay right there, all you have to do is take care of your things and do the things that I tell you when I tell you to, and we don't cry because you don't have a reason to cry about.
Right.
So those
based on running what we share with a lot of the women in the group.
So based on the things that we have been sharing, those are the things that more often come up.
Correct.
So that's the lesson that we learned. Now, we never learn when we were a kid. Emotional abandonment is when we don't learn to deal with our emotions.
Correct.
Why? Because back in the time, or when you were a kid, your parents have bigger things to worry about.
Right.
But your emotions, so never you were never given a voice to express how you're feeling. So you never learn to deal with your emotions.
Right.
So fast forward in time, you're an adult that doesn't know how to deal with their emotions. It struggles with emotional intimacy because we never develop emotional intelligence, and that inner child on us, it battles with us.
Yes.
I was sharing last night, there's a video in which there's a woman talking to her inner child, and the inner child is acting like a child, punching and screaming and crying and frustrated, getting all her emotions out. And the woman that didn't know what to do with that in that specific moment, and all she did was to hug the kid.
Right.
So basically is healing your inner child is getting to a peace, a state of mind, a peace,
right.
in which you say, you know what, I don't want to battle with you anymore. I don't want to battle with myself. This is how I feel. I feel sad because I don't have someone with me to hug me when I need it.
Right.
Or I feel angry because no one let me talk. I'm trying to express what I'm trying to, something, an idea, but people don't want to listen to what I have to say.
Right. Right.
So when you recognize that and then you validate yourself, then basically that's making a peace. Okay, I understand what is happening. But we battle because we never given the opportunity.
And you know what's interesting? I noticed when there's that type of extreme where you don't have a voice or you don't show your emotions or whatever, there's two kind of extreme personalities on the spectrum. One is going to become very angry, and then one is going to go invisible and become very passive, because they're both looking for love and they're doing it at the extreme. Like you said, yours was anger last time we talked, and mine was codependency. I would come alongside trying to get love from people. I would just kind of mesh myself into them, or morph myself into them, to where I'm completely lost, and my sole purpose on life is to fulfill you and make sure that you're not angry or you're not upset or whatever. And then so you have this dysfunctional dance going on between these two people, and that was real evident in the women that were there, at the group, or they've been at the group for the past few weeks, is that you see these two extreme dynamics. They're either super angry and my answer is block you, block, or fight you or whatever, or there's the other one that's just like, I'm just going to protect the world and not worry about me. Yes. Because everybody else is so much more important than me.
Yes. I'm just going to hide and not even take a look into it because it's too ugly to look at it. So, and that's the thing. So when you're angry, something inside of you wants to explode and you're just letting it out. So last night we talked about childish behavior, and I think you explained it very, very well with the Bible novella. It's we get either childish behavior or we don't suppress our inner child.
Right.
So it's kind of like that battle in which if I suppress my inner child to express what they want to say, feel how they want to feel, allow yourself to feel how you are feeling in that specific moment, validate yourself.
Right.
That's the inner child. And childish behavior is when we don't allow that to happen, and we suffer with abandonment issues, and then we throw tantrums, or we just let that part act up. So you talk about that.
Right. Yeah. So I pulled two seemingly conflicting scriptures because they both involve dealing with life through the child's eyes or child's perspective. But of course, we know that God does not contradict himself. So the first scripture I pulled was from Matthew. We're now in the New Testament because we've been in the Old Testament looking at the novellas of the dysfunctional families of David and Saul and the Esau and Jacob and Isaac and Rebekah and all them people, and all the dysfunction that was passed down to them. But we got to look to the New Testament in order to heal. Those are great stories because you can find yourself in one of those stories. But it's really, in order to get the healing, you kind of got to go to the New Testament because that's where Jesus Christ is, and that's why he died, so that we could be healed and saved. So I pulled from Matthew 18, verses 1 through 5, and it's talking, the disciples are kind of going back and forth about who is the greatest. Like Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time, and so what it says is, they're discussing at that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, "Truly, I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, Whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, and whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. So when he talks about coming to him like a little child, it's the original child that he made us to be,
Right.
that wasn't hurt, that didn't have dysfunctional parents, that wasn't abused, that wasn't hit, that wasn't ignored, that wasn't abandoned. It's that perfect child that he made us to be before we were, like he says, he knew us before we were in our mother's womb. That child. And so the attributes of a child that has not been hurt and damaged and whatever look like children tend to be very trusting.
Right.
They are dependent, fully dependent on whoever's caring for them. They're humble, they're honest, they're sincere, they're innocent, and they're very teachable, and they're pure. And that is and through this sanctification process that we go through as believers, that is the person that God is trying to get us back to be. So that total dependence on him, that total trusting in him with everything, your money, your finances, your spouse, your kids, whatever, your job, your career, your church, put all of it, give it all to him. And that's the purity of the child that he's looking for. Yeah. Now, on the other hand, then you kind of go up past Matthew into Corinthians, First Corinthians, and in 13, of course, everybody knows that's the love chapter. Love is patient, love is kind, all that. But I'm kind of going to do this in reverse because I want to make a point. So when you get past all the love is patient, love is kind, all that stuff, in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 13:11, it says, when I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. So that might sound a little contradictory because, in the Matthew, he's telling us, come to him like a child. Now in Corinthians, he's saying, put the childish things away. But what he really means is just what it says, the childish things. It's those childish behaviors. It's those protective vows that we take. It's those habits we develop in order to just survive the childhood that we have to go through. And if you look at that particular child, those types of childish behaviors, they look like selfishness, mischievousness, mean-spirited, rude, self-seeking. It's all about me. We talked about the story of Esau and Jacob last time, and when Jacob tricked his brother out of the blessing and out of the birthright and all that stuff. Esau, who is now a grown man, good and grown in his 70s, according to my research, he is now tantruming with his father, like, but I'm the oldest, but Jacob's the younger. You were supposed to give it to me. Father, don't you have anything for me? And he says it like 3 times in the scripture. Well, what about me? What about me? What about me? Self-seeking. What about me? Narcissistic tendencies. Me, my, and mine. Those are all those easily angered, impatient, unkind. Those are all those behaviors that we develop out of the hurt and pain of growing up, just trying to survive, just trying to get what's yours, out of the woundedness, what we've been trying, abandonment issues. And so all those things come up, and those are the childish ways that God is telling us to put away.
Right.
And he's very intentional. When I read the scripture, it's like when I became a man or woman, I put those ways of childhood behind me. So there has to be an intentionality about it. You can't just hope that God's going to sprinkle magic fairy dust on you and all of a sudden you're no longer selfish and easily angered or offended, So you have to be intentional. So the biblical way, I guess where I'm going with that, the biblical way to kind of help move the process along of healing your inner child is you have to love. Because remember that passage is behind the love passage. Okay, so then now we got to go back to 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8, which is what everybody knows, even non-believers know this, where it talks about love is patient, love is kind. And when I actually read it last night in the group, I said, and you all can do this with me, substitute your name for the word love. This is what a mature Christian looked like. This is the saved and sanctified Christian that we are all trying to become, and we have to be intentional about it. So I will substitute my own name in there and get convicted by this because I'm not all that. But it says, love is patient. Julie is patient. Julie is kind. Julie does not envy. Julie does not boast. Julie is not proud. Julie does not dishonor others. Julie is not self-seeking. Julie is not easily angered. Julie keeps no record of wrongs. Julie does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. Julie always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Julie never fails. So that is the epitome of Christianity. Once we get there, Jesus is going to catch us up. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, it is something that has to be intentional.
Right.
And like when you get offended, or someone says something that triggers you or offends you or whatever. God uses the word offended. I think we've kind of modernized it to being triggered. Someone could say something where you feel triggered, but now you got to go back and say, okay, how do I approach this with love? Right. Lily said something that I felt triggered by or I felt offended by. Can I still love her past my hurt or my pain? And see, if you do that enough, if we give like God gave, like Christ loved the church, like Christ laid down and died for the church, your perspective changes and you begin to see things from God's eyes.
Right.
Can I love Lily? It's like, okay, Lily's a good person. Maybe she said something that I felt offended. I'm not even going to say she offended me because I'm giving my power to her. I felt offended. Okay, but let me think. Now, Lily is generally not that way. So maybe it got lost in the translation. Maybe I heard it wrong. Maybe I was hearing it from my own hurt, because we do that. And so I have to still come back and love her. Or if it warrants a conversation, then I'll sit down and have a conversation. We'll talk about it. We'll move on. Right. But so many times people get so highly offended and the whole world is offended. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm ranting or preaching or whatever, but the whole world is offended. Yeah. Can we just learn how to love like Jesus loved? If we just could love like Jesus loved, which means you have to put somebody else ahead of yourself, right, and love without any expectation, that is a sign of a mature Christian. That is the sign of a healed individual. Right. But it's a process. Right. And it's not going to happen overnight just because we had a 2-hour class on it and all of a sudden you're like, boop, I get it. It has to be intentional. Put those childish things away. So anyway, it's just fascinating how anything that you have, any issue that you have can still be found in the word. Right. They weren't talking about inner child and abandonment and, all that stuff back in the Bible, but there are answers to it. God's got an answer because he says in his word, there's nothing new under the sun. So whatever you think your problem is, whatever you think your situation is, no matter how bad you think it is, it's been dealt with before. And the answer is still looking inside yourself, healing that inner child so that you can love like a grown-up, like a mature person.
And that healing, thank you very much. That was profound. And so yes, healing that inner child is basically making peace with yourself. And because essentially what we do is we talk ourselves out of joy, having joy or enjoying life because we believe we don't deserve it. Going back, you were brought up in some way, you were raised in some way that they taught you that your voice was not enough, you were not good enough, that job that you were doing was not good enough. So it affected your belief system to the point that you believe that whatever you say is not good enough, that will never be good enough. So you prefer to quiet down and don't say anything about it. So you deprive yourself out of the joy because you believe you don't deserve it. Bottom line. But talking about this, which is, I'm just gonna take it back. So, because I want to explain everything based on the attributes of a child. And so the attributes that Julie was mentioning is the trusting, dependent, humble, honest, sincere, innocent, teachable, and pure. Meaning this is make an conscious effort to be these attributes right now. As an adult, it's hard to trust people, but that's what it is. That's what the work is. It's not easy because it comes with a lot of work because it's basically going against that belief system that someone planted on you. So that's why it's so hard. How can I trust you if I don't even know you? That's a childish behavior. See, the trust is letting your inner child act up. That's the trust. But childish behavior will be, how can I trust you if I don't even know you? Right. So that's childish. So when you say trust, is saying, I trust God with all my heart. Right. I know that he's going to take care of me because I'm doing the best. I'm doing my part. So he will take care of me because that's what he does. Yes. Period. Trust. Now, in a marriage, well, I trust, I don't know if I can trust my husband. So then why did you get married? If you were not allowed to, you were not going to allow yourself to trust someone else. See, that's going back to the main, first of all, why are you getting married? Right. Ask yourself that question. Why did I get married in the first place? Some people does it just to have kids. And then you wonder why you're not trusting your husband. So trusting is really allowing yourself to say, you know what? I don't know how things are going to go, but I trust that everything is going to be okay. Dependent. Why we always have to take control of every situation? And then we get upset because we are the ones that are always doing the things. See, it would say, but I'm always the one that is always doing this, and I'm the one that is always doing this, and nobody helps me. Well, why you're not depending on other people? Why you have the need, childish behavior?
Right.
I have to take control of everything
Right.
because no one is gonna get it done well.
Exactly.
Then that's on you.
Mhm.
Humble. You know, it's okay to ask for help.
Mhm.
We don't have it all figured out, and that comes with the pride. The pride is the childish behavior. No, this is mine. No, I don't want you to play because this is me. No, I got it done on myself. I've been doing this my entire life.
Right.
You don't think I know how to do it?
Right.
That's pride. And the humble is to say, you know what, I don't have it all figured out. Let me talk to Julie to see what she has to share with me,
Right.
so I can get something out of it.
Right.
And if she doesn't know, if I cannot relate to what she's saying, let me talk to someone else and talk to someone. Community.
Right.
Humbleness.
Right.
Honest. Yeah, I'm not doing good.
Mhm.
I'm not doing good. And it's just being open to say, you know what, I am not doing good.
Right.
I am trying, but I'm struggling.
Mhm.
Can you help me? Can someone help me?
Right.
Being honest. We always say this. In order for you to get healing, it won't happen. So we talk about healing your inner child. That won't happen until the moment that you say, I don't have it all figured out.
Right.
Simple.
That's
sincere.
True.
You have to be sincere, to be innocent. You know, ask questions. That's one of the main things. We don't ask questions because we don't want to look stupid.
Right.
So what? Who cares? At least your answer, you're getting answers to your questions. I prefer to say, yes, probably for you was a stupid question, but I got the answer.
Exactly.
And the fact of the matter is, most of us have the same question.
Exactly.
But we don't ask because we don't want to look stupid. So that's being innocent. You know, to say things out of innocence, not out of hurt.
Right.
That's a childish behavior to say. And I have to be very clear with this. When we want to say, I say, just say what you want to say, right? And that comes with maturity. Because if there's people that say things bluntly, but then hurt people's feelings, and I'm going to say like Kanye West.
Right.
He just says stuff.
Right.
And he's like, who is this guy? And why is he saying stuff that he's saying? Is he aware that he's talking? But he just, see, that's a childish behavior. When you don't care what other people, if you hurt someone else's feelings. So being innocent is saying things out of innocence, but with the maturity to say, the empathy to say, what I'm saying is out of innocence, but I know that I'm not doing it with the goal to hurt your emotions or your feelings. So that's what we're talking about. So being innocent is to laugh when you want to laugh, to crack a joke when you want to crack a joke, to go for a run if you want to, or to act like a kid with your kids when you feel like acting, that's part of the joy.
Right.
That's part of an attribute of a child of God. When it's you just being that kid. Just because you're an adult and you have a job, it doesn't mean that you have to stop having fun.
Right.
I always say, let's have fun. Whatever you do, make it fun, because that helps you with your emotional intelligence. That helps with your over here.
Right.
Emotional health. So it's important that we are innocent in whatever we do, and be careful with the words. Think before we speak. See, being innocent and just saying whatever. It's like, well, Lily said I can say whatever. No, I'm saying be mature to say whatever you want to say. Teachable. Be open. You know, you don't have it all figured out. It's like, well, I know better. If we always think, this is what I say. Well, if they were doing my way, it would have been better. We always say that. But then, what happens when when they get good results of the way they do it? We don't appreciate that.
Right.
We can continue like, well, I could have done it differently, but they got results. So we don't know it all. We don't have it all figured out. And just being teachable is to learn, to open up, and just to have an open mind to say, oh, okay, well, maybe they do it differently, and I can learn from them. I can learn a different way, or a more efficient way. Being open. Kids, they want to learn everything.
They do.
Everything. Oh, so how do you do that?
The minute they come into the world, you know.
Yes. Oh, how do you fold this paper? How do you do that? And that's why they touch everything, but you're like, don't touch that. Don't do that. Let's sit down. Stay over there. Why are you talking? Don't ask the stupid question. because we're trying to quiet them down because we have so much going on us.
Right.
So what we are doing is we passing what was passed on to us,
Yes.
we passing it on to our kids
Mhm.
and other people.
Mhm.
That's just a reflection. So if
Right.
you have a problem with your kids, if you have a kid that is giving you problems, look at yourself. It's like it's a reflection of you. If you were that troubled kid with your parents, and then you were always, your parents were like, oh, you think, you believe that you were that troubled child, you're passing that on to your kids too.
Right.
So it's important that you realize that, because at the end, the behaviors that we learn from our parents, we will do it with other people.
Right.
So we are a reflection of our parents.
Exactly.
It's simple like that.
Mm-hmm.
And pure. Pure is just clean.
Yeah.
You know,
Innocent.
it's like it's innocent. It's just to say things out of the pureness of your heart,
Mm-hmm.
not as a responsibility
Right.
or codependent.
Exactly.
Sometimes we do this is very often, people gives compliments out of codependency
Mhm.
instead of out of really pureness of your heart.
Right.
So
Right.
that comes with maturity.
Mhm.
Just don't say things just because you want to say it to make yourself feel better,
Right.
because you compliment that person. See, that's a
Exactly.
childish behavior.
Yes.
When you compliment someone for that, like, yeah, that's what I said. I made it feel good.
Mhm.
Now,
And then you're also wanting something back.
and
too.
exactly,
Yeah.
and then you expect people to give it back.
Mhm.
That's a childish behavior.
Yes.
Making a peace with your inner child is saying, oh, I really like that dress. Wow, that's a cool dress. Wow,
Mhm.
where did you get it? Why
Mhm.
not? Right? So it's being pure. So essentially, healing your inner child is just making a peace with the emotions, the person who you are, being who God brought you to be.
Right.
And that will only happen once you discover your inner child and
Mhm.
practice self-awareness.
Mhm.
And then when you already know who you're meant to be, then making a peace with the person that you are right now.
Right. Oh, that's good. Because you know what I was just thinking when you were talking about being pure. When we come to Christ with a repentant heart and we accept Jesus Christ into our heart as our Lord and Savior, He wipes the slate clean. It's like we then become pure again to Him.
Yeah, but we don't believe that.
Right, we don't believe it.
Because we're humans.
That's part of the sanctification process, is working through that, but He wipes the slate clean. And we don't have to hold on to that old stuff, all that junk that we did in the past or what was done to us. We don't have to hold on to it, because God has wiped us and made us pure again.
Yes. And when we have all this honesty, and we don't worry about what other people is thinking.
Yes.
We don't have stigmas on us. We don't have to worry about anything. When we have the attributes of a child of God, we don't worry about everything else.
Exactly.
So guess what? When we don't worry, we suffer less depression, less anxiety, less stress, so we have more energy. So, and that's part of it. We have more physical energy, our well-being. A lot of people get sick very early in life because they're just carrying all that junk on
Yes,
them.
I believe that.
And once you let all that go, all that resentment, unforgiveness, all that stuff that is just slowing you down, trapping you in that yell of lies and belief systems and culture and all that stuff, when you leave that behind, then you gain a lot of freedom. And that freedom is you're more joyful,
right?
And everything is, and you see everything more positive, and everything seems to be more joyful. You have more moments of happiness. You have more emotional energy, physical energy, so you just feel better. And then people ask me, like, where do you get all this energy? Because I have fun every time. Everything I do, I make it fun, because when you make fun things, you feel empowered to do it. You feel like doing them, not like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm just dragging.
And that's that child thing, like God wants us to come to Him like a little child. That's what, when you see little children that are just like really pure and they are untouched and everything, it is the most precious thing to see. I remember years ago working at the bank. I was at Washington Mutual, which is no more. Oops. But Washington Mutual was kind of trying to create this whole family environment. So they had a play area for the kids. And I saw this one day, and it has always stuck with me. It's been many years ago. These families, or two, parents walked in, and they kind of dumped their kids in the little play area. And both of these children were about 2 years old, didn't know each other from Adam. I think one was black and the other one was white. And they were about the same height and about the same age. They immediately saw somebody that was their height, and they just gravitated towards each other. They started hugging, and they playing with the toys, and it was just the most precious thing. that's that coming to God like a child, that pureness,
Mhm.
that innocent. They don't see color, they don't see anything else, but there's someone that's my height. And then
Yes.
they just came together. And so that's it, just, reminds me as you're talking about coming to God like a child. That's what it is, that
Yeah.
adventurous spirit, that no holds barred, don't care what color you are, whatever, where you come from.
Or you look at me
Yeah,
sideways.
yeah, man. They just saw same height. We're about the same age. And they just came in and went in, and it was just such a beautiful sight. Yeah,
Yeah. So, because they don't have that biases like, oh,
right,
what's she wearing? Oh, what he has different shoes, or why he
right,
side eyeing me? Why is this?
right.
They don't come with that. Kids don't do that. Kids are
Mm-hmm.
like, why are they looking like that? No, they just go and see, oh, another little people. Let
Yeah.
me go there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what you were saying. That's
Mm-hmm.
the spirit that we should carry because it's on
Right,
us.
right.
That
Yes,
spirit is on you.
yes.
If you're
Mm-hmm.
alive, it's because it's in you.
Right,
You just don't, you suppress it and you don't want to look at it
right.
because you have too many
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities, because that's stupid, because you don't want to deal
Mm-hmm.
with that, because it's painful. I get it. We all
Right.
been there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time for you to heal so you can get all that energy and that joy and that
Right.
positive that you deserve.
Exactly.
That's the
Exactly.
that's the point of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked them some questions last night, part of the homework.
Woo.
And one of them, the thing is, I want you to think about this. Journaling is, you have to journal. That's
Mm-hmm.
is key
It's a
of this.
must.
So you have to write down, ask yourself, when I was a kid, I used to like, fill up the blank. So what
Right.
did you used to like when you were a kid? So then you can, part of the discovering the child, so that your inner child, so you can continue
Mm-hmm.
the discovery process, so
Mm-hmm.
you get to know more about you,
Right.
because sometimes we get lost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but one of the questions was, and these questions, not, I don't want you guys to answer them out of frustration, of anger. This is just to get to know, to get knowledge, to get clarification,
Mm-hmm.
to validate yourself, to be aware of and recognize all this, what happened. So,
Mm-hmm.
if what would you want your parents, or the person that raised you, or the person that you grew up with, to apologize to you for? What would you like? And I'm saying this because, like I said, cultural and belief systems, and the people, like, everybody
Mm-hmm.
has their own thing
Right.
going on, and
Right.
everybody, there's people that grow up with the cards reading, and that's
Mm-hmm.
all they know.
Right. Right.
And there's
Right.
people that grew up in a very religious
Mm-hmm.
family, and that's all they know.
Right.
So, and if it's out of that, they're not open to listen to somebody else's
Mm-hmm.
perspective. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that creates a stigma. So,
Mm-hmm.
on that note, is what would you like your parents, or the people that you grew up with, to apologize to you for? What is that? Something that I share with me is, I would like my parents to be more, allow me to feel my emotions, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm emotional.
Right.
I
Right.
do.
Right.
I have a lot
Yeah.
of emotions, and I struggle crying.
Mm-hmm.
For me,
Mm-hmm.
crying, it was a big deal. It was a deal breaker
Right.
for me to have community.
Right.
I don't
Right.
want to hang out with people because they're always crying, because
Mm-hmm.
they're always talking about hard topics, and I don't know if I don't want to be in that. So I prevented my own healing, because I was walking away from the healing process,
Right.
because I didn't want to feel any emotions,
Right.
because my
That's
parents
deep.
told me, you don't have a good reason to cry about,
Mm-hmm.
so shut up and be quiet, and
Right.
just don't feel anything.
Right.
So I suppressed my emotions for so long. But I know my parents, once again, I'm not saying this to put the blame on them, to say, oh, because of you, and
Yes.
I'm angry at you. No, I'm saying I
Right.
recognize that.
Right.
So I know I don't want my parents to apologize to me,
Mm-hmm.
but I would like them to recognize that, to know,
Mm-hmm.
to know better.
Right.
Now I know.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can change that for my kids.
Right. And that's important, because I think part of the bridge over, like you were talking about, the connection between what happened and what where you are now.
Right.
It's like you see the similar patterns.
Right.
Like, I'll use myself, for example. My parents, and my thing, what I would want them to apologize for is not giving me more of a voice, not listening to me. Because I always wanted those parents where you could talk to, and, oh, let me tell you about the boy at school or whatever. And I didn't have those parents. And so, but my bestest friends from, like, I would say middle school to high school, they had those cool relationships with their parents. So I would, like, live at their house, because I just really wanted that, needed that so much. But then I realized, as we've gotten older, or, my bridge connection is, in my relationships, adult relationships, I would find it very hard to have those intimate
Yeah.
conversations, and even,
Intimacy.
and just, with my husband, those are the areas where we kind of struggle still to have those intimate personal conversations, because he came up with a very similar background to me. Oh, surprise, surprise, we found each other. How does that happen? But yeah, so it's like, you are drawn to exactly what you came from. It didn't work for you when you were a kid. Now it really ain't working for you now as an adult. But the healing of the inner child will help, is being aware of it first, and then that will help you in being able to communicate. So all is not lost. Even if you,
Awareness.
married somebody that was non-intimate, or you're non-intimate or whatever, you can still have those,
Yeah.
learn how to heal that inner child and have those intimate connections.
It's never too late. It's not about age, it's about will. So if you really want to do something about it, start with yourself. The process is, oh, well, I want my husband to change. No. It doesn't work like that. It's what's on you that make you end up with your husband.
Right.
That's start
There you
number
go.
one. So
Exactly.
it's first self-awareness. What is in me that needs to be not so much change, but really understood.
Yes.
So then you can learn to validate yourself. And
Right.
then based on that, you can allow yourself to see the other person's perspective and where they come from. And then it can be a process of adjustment.
Exactly.
But it's not pointing fingers.
Right. Exactly.
Another question was, what do you want to apologize to your kids for? Or people that you help raise, or people around you? What would you like to apologize? And I'm saying this not so much in the sense of apologizing, oh, I'm sorry for doing this, but recognizing.
Yes.
It's about knowledge, understanding, validation.
Right.
That's
Right.
what I'm talking about.
And interesting, you talked about this last week. You made, because your kids are still very young, on the young side, and so you're kind of in the midst of creating new habits and redirecting, and changing course to get to the goal. But you made a very conscious decision to, like, the way you were raised and the way your dad interacted to you, and kind of was playful and, almost like with a boy, hit you on the butt or whatever, that I love you, that's how you showed love. So you were kind of doing the same thing with your kids, and your son's like, Mom, I'm not really feeling that.
Yeah, it's like, you need to stop.
But it's good. You've given them a voice to be able to say that, because, because you would admit it, like, it kind of annoyed you when your dad did it, but then we carry on the same things that we did because we don't know any different.
Yes, and I never said that to my dad.
Right. And you never had a chance to say that to him.
And he still does it. He still to this point, he does it, and I don't like it. I hate it.
Right.
But then I was doing it to my kids.
Right.
So the very thing that I hated, I was passing it on to my kids until the fact that I gave my kids a voice. Now they say, very serious, they came to me and he was like, you know what? You need to stop this because I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. You need to stop touching my bottom.
Right.
So, and they're my kids.
And I love that. And, there was another young lady there last night that's got young daughters, older than your kids, but young daughters, still in the house. I would say still under her authority. And she does have conversation with them. And, and it was just great because she has allowed them that space and that freedom to say what they want, and it sounds like the kids are very respectful. But I thought it was great because one of the kids had mentioned, like, Mom, you still need to make sure you go to that class. But I love that because they are seeing something in their mom that their mom may not see. But because she has given them the freedom to speak that, and voice that, it's great. I mean, it's a teaching experience for both of them. And what I was telling her is 20 years from now, your kids are not going to be on somebody's therapy couch trying to, say, oh, my parents didn't give me a voice, because you do give them a voice.
Right.
And I think that's beautiful. And I think all of us that didn't have that really value that. And when we see another parent do that with their child.
Nice. Yes. And another question is, what do you want to apologize with yourself for? Now that you come to the realization and the awareness and the discovery and the recognizing and the acceptance and validation, just make peace with yourself.
Right.
You know what? I'm sorry I've been neglecting you. I'm sorry I left you alone. I'm sorry I'm not giving you the voice that you've been asking for all this time.
Right.
I'm sorry for that, but now I'm giving you the stage. I'm giving you the voice that I never had, that was not given to me. Just make peace with yourself.
Right.
That's what it's all.
Right.
And moving forward, now that you know all this, what needs to change in your life? Ask yourself that question. What needs to change in my life from now on? What are the changes that I need to make? I'm not going to tell you what it is because you know it. If you've been doing the work, you should know now better, a little bit better, what is moving forward, what are the changes that you need to make.
And I think that the thing is, we can kind of get in these patterns Like one of the things I said when, what do I want to apologize to myself for is not being more adventurous. Not traveling more and doing some of these things, because we were very active as young people, but at some point I stopped doing that because I felt like if I couldn't do it well, I shouldn't do it at all.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of the mantra we grew up
Yeah.
with. If you can't do it right, don't do it at all.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up with that, and I thought, but you know what? Even where I am now in life, it's not too late to do any of that.
Never too late.
So we don't have to stay stuck in that, 40 years have gone by and I never did it. Okay, are you still breathing? Can you still get up and walk? Guess what? You can still go travel.
That's
You
on
can still
you
learn
now.
how to ski or whatever. I mean, I'm not trying to get out there on no skis, but I'm just saying.
But I mean,
you
internet
can-
is filled with people 60, 70-year-olds bodybuilders.
That's true. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
why not? If that's what
Absolutely.
you want, go for it.
Mhm.
So jump off a plane. Why
Right.
not? Check your heart first. But
Right.
no, just taking steps. And then we gave some little tips to continue with the healing process. This is not a one-time deal. This is something that you have to
Right.
practice every single day. If it
Yes.
took you 20, 30, 40, 50 years to get to where you are, you're not going to snap out of it in a matter of a week or one class, 2 hours. It doesn't work like that. You work through the self-awareness and then you continue working on it because every
Right.
day is a brand new day.
Yes.
So find and honor your true self. Practice self-awareness and honor yourself. Because, and this is what we talk about comparison. It's not fair to me to compare with Julie.
Right.
It's not fair to compare because that's what we do. We go through life
Yes.
comparing with the neighbor or my friend that has the job or my friend that has the body or the business or the house. That's what we do. We always compare apples to oranges.
Right.
It's important that if you're going to compare yourself, because that's what you're into, compare yourself with yourself.
Right.
With the
That's good.
person that you were
That's good.
yesterday.
There you go.
So who I was yesterday, who I am before today, now I can make that comparison.
Right.
Not to anybody
right,
else
right. Very
because
good.
it's just different stories.
Mhm.
Ask for help. Ask for help. We don't get it all to figure it out. The second beatitude is the first one is acknowledge that you don't have it all.
Right.
Figure it
Right,
out
right,
and
right.
give your life to Christ, right?
Mhm.
So ask for help.
Ask for help.
You are not God.
Mhm.
You will never be God. You don't have it all figured out.
And that's for all the codependents out there, because I know y'all don't ask for help.
Yes. Give yourself permission to do you. Schedule recess. Take a break. Recess. What is recess? That moment, that time of the
that's
day when
good.
kids go outside and play.
Right.
Give yourself that
And
time
wasn't
too.
that the best part of school?
Yes.
Is recess.
Yes, because you go and talk to your friends, or you go and eat your lunch, or
Yeah.
you do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. Have some recess for yourself in which you whatever you want to do. Read a book, go for a jog, go for a walk, have a coffee, have a milkshake. I don't know if that's what you're into. Just give yourself permission to be a kid for some time.
Mm-hmm.
Journaling is the best. It's a best time machine. Write it. Write. If you don't write it, you won't be able to compare yourself with the one yesterday.
Right.
So if you really want to compare apples to apples, journaling, writing is the best exercise. So you can have that awareness.
That is so powerful.
Because we forget. We forget really quick.
Exactly.
Write a letter to your younger self. What would you tell yourself when you were a kid? If you were in front of your little one, what would you tell yourself? So write yourself a letter. It's part of the process of acknowledgement and validation, and just to get in touch with yourself. And you're going to cry. So give it a cry.
Don't be afraid to cry.
Yes, just go and give it a
God
cry.
gave you those tears for a reason.
Yes, and so it's important. Draw yourself as a child. Drawing yourself, what that does is helps you have a clear image of who you were. It's basically putting it in and having, when you see, especially for people that are more visual, you are capable to see that image of you and who you basically put yourself in front of you, because you're not going to put yourself in front of you. That's impossible.
Right.
But when you draw yourself, it's kind of that does the job in some way, shape, or form.
I'm going to try that. And I am not artistic, but I'm gonna try that.
But see, when you're drawing yourself, you're like, okay, so how did I have my hair? Oh, I have ponytails. Oh, and then I used to wear a dress like this. Oh, and my shoes. And then you start thinking, you're going back. You're having a clear image of who you were before. And then when you see it, you kind of like materializes in front of you by your own hand. It's powerful. It's a powerful technique.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
Another one is meditation or praying moments and moments of gratefulness. Just be grateful about something instead of, oh, I don't have, God give me, God please allow me to do this. Instead of asking for things, be thankful for the things that you already have. It's key.
It's key.
Positive affirmations. We are sucked into negativity all the time. Because I don't have it, because of this, because of there's always something negative to talk about. That comes up all the time. But instead of tweak it, when we learn to see problems as an opportunity, a lot of your day brightens it up.
Right.
So positive affirmations are key to have a better mindset every single day. Another one is practice personal development. And enhance your emotional intelligence. Work on yourself. Just because you're doing this right now, that's not over. No. It's a constant. There's a bunch of people, empowerment, personal development speakers out there that you can hear. If one doesn't resonate with you, look for another one. Right. Look for another one. But there's always very good messages out there to keep you in touch with yourself. And the last one, but not the least one, I think that's the most important one. Hug yourself. Hug yourself. Well, we're hugging each other.
Like one person.
Yes, but you hug yourself.
If she's not here, then I can do that by myself.
Yes, and because you deserve it.
Yeah.
Yes. It's being a kid. Give yourself the hug that you always wanted when you were a kid. Because I know we wanted always a hug. Someone to be there to just hug us and hold us when we were feeling bad. Or when we were bullied or when something. So be that person for you now.
Right.
Time passes. So
it does.
Don't let it pass too fast. So just take care of yourself.
This is good.
Yes.
Really, really good.
It's a good lesson.
Amen.
Heal yourself.
High five.
We did it.
We did it.
Stay in touch. You got this.
Peace out.
Bye.